put on houses to keep the houses from burning. I was talking to a friend and I'm just wondering why that's not used more often. Like, is that difficult to use or is it really expensive? I'm just curious.
Yes, it's very expensive. Great question, by the way. It's very expensive. And those are gels, typically. We have foams and we use foams. The problem is, remember how I talked about the brush getting preheated as it's getting closer and it starts to dry out the fuels ahead? Well, what we found is when we use these foams, as the advancing fire approached, it dried the house out. Even though we spent an hour pre-treating this house, once it got within 50 yards of the house, and even though it wasn't moving aggressively, but just there, the radiant heat alone started to dry out exactly what we did. And same thing with whatever you did with the garden hose up on the roof. No, that's not, by the time the fire gets there, it's already ready to burn. So these gels that they've created are pretty awesome. Very expensive. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars expensive. Some insurance companies will use them on multi-million-dollar houses, but the average homeowner or municipality can't afford that stuff. It's not affordable. Anybody else?
So you don't use those on an urban setting, which would be more like you would encounter here within the city?
We use foams in the city, absolutely.
For homes?
Yes, because it does work. What the foam does is it breaks down the surface tension of the fuel and allows the fuel to absorb more water. So when we add the foam additive and then we squirt the wood house, it makes it saturated with water. And it really helps us know that the fire is out. So before we go, we want to make sure, okay, when we're sure this fire is out, we don't want to come back at 2 o'clock in the morning for the fire burning again. We'll spray it with foam and that'll soak it so well that you know the fire's out. But yeah, we do use it. Yes?
Yeah, my husband is like a Russian area. It's so difficult to find the right fire insurance.
Right.
Yeah.
You're under the California Fair Plan, that's why.
Yeah, I'm under the fair plan.
It's almost the same as people that are unable to get auto insurance.
Yes.
They're under this certain plan. Well, if you're in a certain region, nobody wants to give you insurance.
And 6 years ago, had a fire. They want me to evacuate.
Did
6
you?
years ago, yeah.
Good for you.
And
The
then-
station fire?
And months ago, I heard the 4 o'clock and the helicopter rolled around. I thought there must be a problem. And the next morning, when I drive to the canyon, I saw there's a small, big smoke there and the traffic.
We get fires up in Brown Canyon quite a bit.
Diamond Bar.
Oh, Diamond Bar area.
Yeah, canyon.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to that canyon. So in the Diamond Bar area, yeah, they've had some pretty significant fires.
I have a hard time getting the fire insurance. I mean, yeah.
Do you have a plan?
Yeah,
We talked about, do you have a plan for evacuating?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.